So first off, what I wanted to do, this is on marketplaces and sort of getting marketplaces off the ground, which is a great topic, and getting sort of down into the weeds of how you actually build these impressive businesses. And marketplaces have, changed all of our lives in the last several years and created tremendous value for investors, but they're hard and expensive and difficult to get off the ground. So we've had 3 successful entrepreneurs in that category. First, I'm just going to ask each one to sort of just go down the line, introduce themselves, say what their company is, a chance to kind of let everybody know what you're doing, and then we're going to kind of drill down a little bit on how you got here. Not physically, but from a company standpoint.
All right. My name is Ivan, and I'm the CEO and founder of TrackerPath, which is a B2B marketplace for freight transportation and the most popular platform for trackers in the United States. So we have about 25% of trackers in the United States as active users on the platform. So basically, press calls us Uber for tracking sometimes. I really hate but it gives kind of high-level understanding what it is. And we're disrupting the space and bringing the technology to very, very old-school logistics space.
Great.
Hi, my name is Justas, and I'm CEO and co-founder of Vinted. And Vinted is a peer-to-peer marketplace for pre-loved fashion. So basically, it's an app which allows for non-professional individuals, mostly females, to sell their fashion items they have in their closets, but they don't use them anymore, and make money out of that. And as well, for buyers, it allows to discover their kind of favorite brands for a fraction of price. So, and with Vinted, everybody wins. So seller makes money, buyer gets brands for a good price, and we take our cut. So as a company, today we are in 11 markets. In last 4 years, we raised 50 million euros of capital. So that's $60 million, basically. I think that's
great.
Pretty much.
Hi, I'm Mark, founder and CEO of SpotHero. We are an on-demand mobile parking app which allows you to reserve a parking spot in a garage or lot, and you can get a discount of up to 50% by reserving it ahead of time. You know exactly where you're going to park and how much you're going to pay.
Awesome. So I'll go this way first and kind of come back and jump around so it's not too robotic. But Ivan, how did you guys get started? So there's, in marketplaces, there's supply, there's demand, chicken and egg, how you get enough critical mass on both sides. I would love to hear sort of where you focus supply demand at the beginning, and it's probably the same question for you guys as well. And then specifically what things in terms of focusing on a particular market or a particular geo or a particular area, how did you kind of build the flywheel just to get the system running, minimum viable?
Yeah, so main issue for the marketplaces to get started is so-called chicken and egg problem. So basically you don't have sellers, how you attract buyers, and vice versa. Same issue in this industry, but much more complicated. So it's so hard to get those guys started using your platform. And we saw many companies trying to do that and failed. And when I was thinking about the marketplace concept, I was trying to find the right approach, how we can overcome the chicken and egg. And I was studying experience of different startups, like Airbnb, for example, how they got started. So they just got started by having third-party listings on their platform, and that's how they created value for their first users. And then they started prompting their users to post their own listings, that was their solution. Our solution was quite different. So we decided to give the value for trackers first. And we created an app for trackers, which is also, high-level pitch of that is Waze for trackers is a crowdsourced app that helps trackers to find available truck parking and has lots of other information, crowdsourced information for the places that they need. So once we got a huge crowd of the users, the app took off, we started rolling out the marketplace because we already had one side of that, and we started connecting the other side. So that was basically our solution.
Cool. Supply, demand, how you got started. Are you guys P2P only, or do you actually hold inventory as well?
P2P.
P2P?
100% P2P, and yeah, you say chicken and egg. I have no idea which was first, chicken or an egg, but speaking about supply and demand and marketplaces for fashion, I'm pretty confident it's supply first.
Yeah.
That's definitely. So we are kind of local-based per marketplace, meaning that we have a separate marketplace in the United States, separate in the UK, Germany, France, Spain, other markets, and every market we enter, we have to build a marketplace from scratch. So we did that already 11 times so far, and we are always iterating on our kind of go-to-market model. So at the beginning, we started like, as every small startup starts by asking your friends, family, and other guys in the street just to list your stuff. Then when we entered new countries, first countries, so then we hired people to go over the down and ask people, to be kind and list the stuff. And then we iterated with this business model. Now this is go-to-market strategy, and now we came up with a kind of sophisticated way where we start marketplace by kind of automatical way using the acquisition channels of setting up the inventory we need. For us, it's very important the first inventory we collect in the marketplace, because it really drives the future of your marketplace. Because fashion is so complicated, there are so many dimensions. You can go with a very high-end brands, or you can go with medium brands, you can go with cheap brands, and what you see is what you get. So if you start your marketplace with a very cheap one, so that drives the future of the future supply, basically. And if you start with very high-end, which happened for us in Italy, because people really like Armani, Dolce & Gabbana, and that kind of brands, so then you get very different market dynamics.
That's interesting. So it varied by geo how the market dynamics took shape.
Changed a lot. So for example, when we look at United States, there is lots of competition. People use multiple apps, and then they use different apps for kind of different fashion tires. There is Tracy, Poshmark, Vinted, ThreadUp, other ones. For example, like in Italy, people are very, very, very much into brands. It's a kind of brand culture. So you get instantly like very high-end brands over there, and that brings other challenges like authenticity, reliability, trust, and so on. So when we built first supply, then of course demand becomes the second problem, especially when you have too much supply, because we target like non-professional people, ordinary people, and then they say, oh wow, this thing really works, I can make money, so they list so much items. And everybody has different tastes for different brands, and then when you have too much demand, you start, you need to serve your buyers. So then you work with demand, you personalization, brand, different ranking algorithms. That's basically what we do.
Cool, good. And it sounds like an interesting challenge because it varies from place to place. Supply, demand, how did you guys get going? What was the sort of catalyst that you looked for to kind of get the thing spinning?
Sure. Well, we started with supply of parking spots, not just in one geo, but in one neighborhood. And we actually started with individual parking spots. So it took us a year, I'm embarrassed to say, to get 50 parking spots. We got liquidity in a single neighborhood with those 50, but not much beyond that. And what's interesting is none of the larger parking companies would even talk to us when we first started, and we weren't even really trying to talk to them, but because we had these 50 spots, which wasn't really a nice business, the second largest parking company at the time said, well, yeah, we'll start with something small. How about a couple of thousand? And I was like, a day? Like, are they available every day? And so that was a big kind of impetus for us, and it was no surprise that 2 months after we got the couple thousand spaces, we had our first 3-figure month. This is a year and a half after we started. It takes a while to get going. So we had $378 in revenue.
Nice.
And I'm like, we did it. Like, we went from 2 figures, 3 figures, right? 4 figures came 2 or 3 months later. Yeah, that was a...
And it sounds like he went to his friends. It sounds like there's probably an endemic audience that's probably somewhat definable in his case. But in your case, how did people even know that they could even find a service that had parking reservation and so on? I mean, how did you even get the first customers to use it?
We went door to door.
That was it?
Like physically, to tell people. And
Nice.
Went door to door to get the parking spots, and then door to door to tell them. So I think like in the early days, it's kind of a weird dynamic. It's just like whatever it takes to get people to use it.
Cool. So coming back now, I want to start back over here. There's a transaction, and then there's sort of the extra service layer. So we have a place we put up on Airbnb. They have insurance. They have a whole bunch of other services they offer that sort of enable that transaction. So the transaction is just sort of the small increment, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. What's the ecosystem that you've built or are building or thinking you'll build around the transaction? What's the workflow and service that people get from you guys beyond just making a trade?
Yeah, so we have a long-term road plan for the product, and besides the kind of matching algorithms, we have integrations that help both parties with due diligence, for example. So if you're like a shipper or a broker, you can see what's this tracker's like safety score, what kind of insurance he has, and if you're like a tracker, you can see for example, credit scores and like what's the days to pay. So adding on top of that, some financial services, freight tracking, and other tools is actually pretty much the complete suite of the products. And as I mentioned before, we have a navigational assistant that also helps to basically provide additional value for the carrier side of the marketplace.
Yeah, so I think a big piece of this whole marketplace dynamic is the trade is going to happen, but it's all the other things you layer on to really bring forth value to the users. That's very interesting. Now, for you guys, it sounds like you have a pretty complicated environment because you're sort of the real in one place and you're Poshmark in another place. So how do you sort of harmonize those different models into like one brand experience, or can you do it?
Yeah. So. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, I'm just saying, so beyond the transaction, I'd be interested in that, and then also it just sounds like it's different from place to place, the experience for consumers.
Yeah, definitely. So we definitely, for buyers, we offer like buyer protection program like insurance, and for sellers we offer like the kind of different payments methods like credit cards, PayPal, integration. So those are the main kind of services we offer. We're working on as well to have possibilities like to promote your content even better, so to sell faster. And also like when we're creating our marketplace, we are focusing just on fashion, so we want to create like the best experience for discovering fashion, so that the seller would have like a clear advantage to sell on Vinted rather than on eBay, for example. And the other thing is like simplicity. We really want to make this app super simple so that you can list like very quickly, and that's how we have our advantage compared to the same eBay or other platforms. And also, our target demographics are very young people, like 15, 25 years old, female audience. That's mostly where we are targeting, and those people, they have never sold anything before, so. And we want to bring the experience like literally kind of really adapted to this kind of generation with features like video, for example. So you can list the item not only by picture, but like 15-second Snapchat style video as well, which could kind of present your item even better. And offer features like geolocation, for example, because we have so much inventory in the United States, and you can just look around, for example, what kind of bags are around you and just go to meet person to check the item and make a transaction. So that's
great. It's a bunch of stuff. And have you found those things are adopted pretty similarly across markets, or they vary?
Yeah, correct. Well, shipping. The other thing what we offer is like integrated shipping infrastructure. So you don't need to worry about anything as a seller, because you are selling first time, you don't know how to ship the item, for example, you never used post, so it's all integrated very nicely with USPS, and we offer much better pricing than you can get as a retail customer at USPS. That's another advantage. And also for buyer, we offer single one-click purchase experience, so you just click and the item is kind of already on the way to your house.
Great. All right. So in SpotHero, what's the sort of ecosystem you're creating? What are the other value-added services you offer, and how are you sort of extending the experience?
So there are a number of them. I think the two most valuable would be the redemption experience for when you actually park. So we've done integrations with hundreds of different types of machines, parking equipment, and so you might see someone that has to pull a piece of paper out of a machine and then stand in line with a credit card, or you arrive and it's cash only. For example, in Los Angeles, half of the garages and lots are still cash only, and it's 2016.
That's crazy.
But with SpotHero, you can, show up and they either have your license plate on file, or you can scan, the gate goes up, press a button on the phone, the garage goes up. So we're totally changing the way the entire experience is done. And then we also have a really relentless focus on, we're SpotHero, so we're your hero. So if you have an issue, a question, you can call us for anything. We actually field 20,000 customer service phone calls a month. And normally when you don't park with us, try calling the customer service line if you can find it of a parking garage.
Yeah. And actually, I want to drill down on that a little more, just if you can riff a little further on that, because that was actually my next question, which is the brand experience. I think that where the brand in many of these marketplaces, where the marketplace brand starts and where the actual sort of provider or supply brand begins is always a question mark. So, you have sort of the Lyft driver individual presence versus the Lyft brand itself. And in your case, I'd love to hear about, the experience of the consumer and how you manage that experience, because, someone shoving something in a box and shipping it off isn't necessarily the greatest thing. But start with SpotHero, and I want to hear yours as well. So how do you guys view your brand, and where does your brand sort of start and end, and where does the parking lot start and end, or other parking supplies start and end?
It's hard because we don't fully control everything, but I don't like thinking about it like, where does our brand start and end? Because then you allow yourself, or like at least internally, to make excuses like, oh, it's them, and that's okay. So, we're looking at everything end to end, from the find and discover, redemption in, redemption out, and like end-to-end experience. It's all part of it. And so, we just have a relentless focus on that. We collect data every single day. We actually, to the chagrin of our users, force people to rate it because it's too valuable to know if there's a problem. And we have ratings by garage, by company, by geography, and we're very, very data focused to protect our brand from end to end.
Do you give feedback to the garages and say this one's terrible, or this one's great, or this is this and this is that, or do you just sort of use that?
Oh, yeah, we give it to them. And it's funny because a lot of times they're like, yeah, we know it's terrible. Yeah. We took one off, and it was a larger parking company, and they said, well, we were waiting for you to take this one off. We wanted to see how long it would take.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about and I want to go into your brand experience. So how do you think about your brand experience, and how do you sort of create a unified experience across what sounds like a pretty dynamic marketplace?
So I think that consumer creates an image of your brand from the first impressions when they touch with your brand. So those first impressions are very, very important because they just really form the image of who you are. And that's why I believe you can control how your brand is created in the consumer side, consumer's head, by everything like, for example, how the App Store pages look like. What copywriting do you use, the colors you use, what's the first impression when you open the app first time, the onboarding process, even like copywriting and messaging. For example, like we are focusing so much on female audience, and like in languages where you have like different forms of nouns for masculine and feminine forms, so we use feminine forms everywhere. And that's already, if you're a man, you're a little bit like, oh, whoa, maybe it's not for me. That's how we control this a little bit. And also what we do, we just actually curate the content very much. And for some content which is not kind of complying with our guidances, policies, so we just kind of remove that. And that's how we...
I'm guessing you two target customers are about as far apart as you can get. So the trucker brand, how do you think about the brand experience? How do you bring a unified feel to what you're doing?
So we build the brand around the community. We usually don't say, oh, we're such a great app or such a great technology, so we first we emphasize on the community, and users really appreciate that. So we appreciate their contribution, we appreciate them being in the community, we appreciate them providing a great service. And it helps a lot because we created a huge base of fans, and it helps with like word of mouth marketing a lot. So that actually was one of the main reasons why the app went viral and pretty much killed all the competition in this space.
That's great. Oh, I think I got 30, 24 seconds. And last comment, any last thing you want to share about just building a marketplace or thoughts you have, or any last advice for entrepreneurs in the crowd?
Yeah, so I guess the advice could be don't use analogy too much. So if somebody else had this kind of experience, just check that, run like experiments to figure out how is that in the reality. So don't rely too much on what others telling you or like what you read in the past.
Cool. Any other thoughts for entrepreneurs in the audience starting out?
I would suggest, building marketplace first, it's trivial, but literally I experienced that. Focus so much on the first customers, make them happy, and not so much on the technology, design, whatever. Literally find first 5 sellers and make them very happy.
Great. Any thoughts for entrepreneurs?
I think you nailed it. First few people, whether they're sellers or customers, just blow their minds. You don't need to do something kind of good for 1 million people. Do something awesome for 10.
Yeah. Get to 3 figures of revenue.
And then we hit 4. We've done more.
Is that including or not including decimal places? All right. So thanks for the great panel, and thank you guys for participating and sharing your wisdom with the Vator crowd. So great. Thanks a lot.